Hello and welcome to the in-new series of Drishti IAS. I am Pooja, and in this segment today, we are going to analyze the contemporary situation of rising tensions between China and Taiwan, the role of USA, the traditional as well as contemporary, and of course, Taiwan's relations with India. This is a comprehensive episode, and I will try to make it as brief as possible. Whatever inputs you might find a little lagging, you can fill up them for yourselves, because if we go into the depth, then of course 1 hour, even 1 hour will be less. So let's move on with robustness and brevity. For the main parts to be covered over here, the news, who is Nancy Pelosi, whose visit has triggered new and fresh round of tensions between US and China. Why does China have a problem with the visit of Nancy Pelosi? History of Taiwan and China, and also we will discuss, is Taiwan actually a part of China or not? And what is the relation between US and Taiwan? What policy does US follow? Approach of US towards Taiwan, and why are the relations between China and Taiwan strained? Also, India and Taiwan relations, what is the probability of war? And in the last of the segment, I'll ask you a question. In the midst of the segment, I'll try to formulate few questions which you can ask, which you can answer as interactive. Okay, so China Taiwan news. Current update is that China military drills surrounding Taiwan, they are underway, and after these particular drills, after they sent a message specifically to the US that Taiwan is China's territory, it has now launched ballistic missiles as well near the waters of Taiwan, not on the land area of Taiwan, but near the waters of Taiwan, which is very disturbing, because currently we are already seeing a war that has been ongoing since February 2022, and it has not yet ended. And now if new sorts of disruptions occur, just imagine the situation of the world right now with respect to economy and the general populace's mindset. Now, who is Nancy Pelosi? Nancy Pelosi is US House of Representative Speaker who visited Taiwan late Tuesday, and also because of that there was a triggering of fresh round of tensions between USA and China. And she actually did not reveal, USA did not actually reveal that it is going to visit Taiwan, because Taiwan matter is very sensitive right now. And she visited Singapore, Malaysia, Japan, and Korea, South Korea. And also because it was highly anticipated that she would visit Taiwan, no clarity was given, but she did eventually. And she is the highest ranking elected American official to visit Taiwan. This level of visit is what holds the importance. And this is since 1997, when Newt Gingrich visited Taiwan. He was also the speaker, okay, of the US. And moving on with that, if we talk about the Chinese concerns, China was very vocal about this, that it's not happy with Pelosi's visit. So vocal that it has gone all violent, you can say, surrounding Taiwan. So Speaker Pelosi to concern over Taiwan trip, it's important for us to show support for Taiwan. This is what she has said. I also think that none of us has ever said we are for independence when it comes to Taiwan. That's up to Taiwan to decide. Okay, so here she has clearly stated that she and the US has never said that we will ensure Taiwan gets independence from China, but it's also up to Taiwan. Now the ball has been put in Taiwan's court. Moving on, if we talk about the Chinese vision, what is China? Why is China disturbed? Chinese Foreign Minister spokesperson Zhao Lijiang has said China would take resolute and strong measures if the visit take place, and China has always been true to its words. That is not something that I'm making up, but it is a fact actually. So if we talk about this visit, China sees it as a threat to its sovereignty, because already China wasn't happy with closeness and you can say inclivity of Taiwan towards USA. And now after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, China has been emboldened that it can do the same to ensure that its message is clear that Taiwan is its territory. Moving on, let us talk about the next part, that is, of course, Taiwan. Taiwan was earlier known as Formosa, okay, and it is a few kilometers to the southeast coast of China, and it holds a very important place in the foreign policy of US. Why? Because it is a part of the first island chain, and first island chain consists of those countries and islands basically that are considered pro-US, such as Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and Philippines. So it's a part of the first island chain. And why is Taiwan important? Because it holds the key to a free and open Indo-Pacific. If China ensures that it is able to get away with being aggressive in this region, it can happen in the future as well. Lots of trade, lots of strategic points are there in the South China Sea and the Indo-Pacific overall. So that is why Indo-Pacific and Taiwan and many islands here are very important for the world. Moving on, if we talk about history of China and Taiwan, it is very checkered. The relations were never this sour, but it started sour. It became a sweeter, there was a sweeter moment in the relations between China and Taiwan, but now again it has become bitter. So earlier it was administered by the Imperial Qing dynasty, which was the last dynasty of China. And then Japan laid its hand on Taiwan in 1895. After World War II, the islands passed back to China after the defeat of Japan. Then a civil war occurred in which Mao Zedong, who led the Communist Party over there, so it won, okay? And the Chiang Kai-shek, who was the leader of the nationalist Kuomintang Party, he fled to Taiwan in 1949. And after that, he set up the government of Republic of China. Taiwan is known as the Republic of China officially, and China is known as the People's Republic of China, okay? And he remained the president until 1975. After that, China, since you can say in 1949, after that, when communists took over China, it was governed independently of mainland China, but it was a part of the One China policy. One China, there is only one China. But China considered it, Taiwan, it's a renegade province, it's a breakaway province, and also vows to eventually unify Taiwan with the mainland. So this is the vision of China since many years, decades. So China considered it's a renegade province, vows to eventually unify. It did say that One China principle is applicable to you can say Taiwan and many other areas like Hong Kong as well. So One China basically says that Taiwan, although it's working autonomously, it's a part of China. Taiwan says that modern Chinese state was only formed after the revolution of 1911. That is why it is not a part of China. And also you can see how China is so sure about the position of Taiwan being a part of China. It comes from the 1992 consensus, in which both the sides of the party straits is the Taiwan Strait, Taiwan as well as China, they are agreeing to the One China principle and orally explain. See, there is oral explanation of the fact that these two countries are the same. These two regions, not countries, these two regions are the same. But neither China was very happy with the entire progression of One China policy, nor Taiwan. Okay, moving on. The US, what is the role of US? Where did the US come from? See, US will have any country. I'm not just talking about US. There are not permanent friends and not permanent enemies in the world order. There are only permanent interests. So US will always try to safeguard its interest. That is why it will come into any area. So the US established formal diplomatic relations with People's Republic of China in 1979, that is China, mainland China. And at the same time, it ensured that it severed all sorts of diplomatic ties and abrogated the Mutual Defense Treaty with Taiwan, that is the Republic of China. And US still maintains a robust unofficial relations. It's not an official, but an unofficial relation. And it continues to sell defense equipments to its military that is Taiwan's military. So economic interests of US are very safeguarded in Taiwan. We all know that US's economy is highly dependent on its sale of arms and ammunitions. Moving on. Now, if we talk about the era of W. Bush, Obama, Trump, and Biden, this is the level of trade they did with respect to arms sales. Okay. So you see, at the time of Bush, it wasn't very impressive. Comes Obama, it did rise and fell. And comes Trump, you see the level of trade that went on with respect to arms sale, it has touched heights in the era of Trump. Now, there you can see Biden's era has not seen, you can say it has a considerable amount of trade in arms, but it hasn't seen the level that Trump era touched. Moving on, let's talk about the approach of US now. As you see the first point, policy of strategic ambiguity. That means US has maintained an approach which is ambiguous. It's not black and white, it's gray. And it is strategic in nature. That means in order to ensure US's interests are safeguarded, it is balancing its relations with both China and Taiwan through the policy of strategic ambiguity. That what it was until the relations went sour with China. Now it is being said that US is completely inclined towards Taiwan. So the US approach is governed by one China policy. Okay, it says that yes, there is only one China and Taiwan is a part of China. But that is also premised upon one thing, that China will never try to unify Taiwan on the basis of violence, on the basis of invasion. Armed invasion is not allowed. Only then it will support the one China policy. This is strategic ambiguity. Okay, several documents, that is 3 US-China communiques, were reached in 1972, 1978 and 1982. And with respect to the relations, Taiwan Relations Act was passed by the US Congress in 1979, and there were recently declassified 6 assurances dossier that has come to light when Ronald Reagan was the US president. Okay, and this was in 1982. Remember that. So here is what I will quote, what comes from this particular dossier, 6 assurances. What are these? Let us see. It explicitly says that US acknowledges Chinese position that there is but one China. There is only one China. US acknowledges that Taiwan is a part of China and People's Republic of China is the sole legal government in China. Now, many foreign policy analysts say, although the word acknowledges, which I have highlighted in red, has been used, but it does not at all mean that US agrees to the position of China on Taiwan. It does acknowledge, but it also has a condition that Taiwan is never unified violently, and acknowledges is a very open-ended term. It is very subjective and open to interpretation. Then US rejects any use of force to settle the dispute and also continues to maintain cultural, commercial and other ties with Taiwan carried out through the American Institute in Taiwan that has been built. It also commits to selling arms to Taiwan for self-defense and will maintain the ability to come to Taiwan's defense while not actually committing to doing so, a policy known as strategic ambiguity. No clearance, very open-ended, can change its position. US can change its position depending on the scenario. Okay, moving on, let's talk about the current approach that we are seeing since 2017, since the Donald Trump era. In his era, US had a deepened, more enhanced and in-depth ties with Taiwan. How? Because Trump era sold more than $80 billion worth of arms to the military and unveiled a $250 million complex for de facto embassy. See, unofficial relations are there. Officially, it's not maintaining the relations, but a de facto, that means something that is more of a reality. An embassy has been provided in Taipei, that is Taiwan. Trump also spoke with Miss Tsai by telephone. So this was the highest level of engagement seen in recent times between US and Taiwan, of course it is going to irk China. The State Department eliminated long-held restrictions governing where and how the US officials and the Taiwanese counterparts will meet. These restrictions were removed, and of course it showed that US is now changing its approach towards Taiwan. It does not need the permission, or it does not need to intimate China that where and when Taiwanese officials with US officials will meet. Moving on, let's talk about Biden administration. The current administration is going on the similar path that the Trump administration went on. The first US president, Joe Biden, has become the first US president to invite Taiwanese representatives to attend the presidential inauguration. That means a different kind of bilateral relations have started to, you can say, prop up when China has been bypassed. Then participation in military training and dialogues with Taiwan has been continuously done in South China Sea, in the Indo-Pacific region with Taiwan, and that made China very insecure. Okay, it also encouraged Taiwan to increase its defense spending. That means it knows that 2049 is approaching, when the one China dream of Xi Jinping will be realized, no matter if it is by force or by anything else. By force is the more, you can say, probable vision that Biden administration has. So currently, if we talk about the approach of Democrats and the Republicans in the US, there are two major parties. So bipartisan support has been given in Congress for the approach of US towards Taiwan by giving the Taiwan Policy Act of 2022 a nod. It was a bipartisan support. That means both the parties were supporting this policy, in which Taiwan was designated as a major non-NATO ally. Big deal. NATO allies are, of course, one of the most important allies of USA. But if different legislation has come into the picture, which gives an ally status to a country which has a lot of a region, I mustn't say country, a region which has a lot of importance for the entire world, is something to be, you can say, something of significance. Okay. And if we talk about the relations between China and Taiwan, I told you that relations were not that sour in 1980s, because then Taiwan relaxed rules on visits and investment in China. And it was a rosy picture back then. After that, in 1991, war with People's Republic of China was over. This was declared by Taiwan. And China proposed, after that, China said that one country, two systems, let's follow that, which has been followed by Hong Kong as well. So in one country, two systems, it is said that eventually all the regions that are following one country, two systems policy, they are a part of mainland China, but they can have a government which is suitable to their own needs up to a time. Then China said, no, thank you. We do not want this offer. We are happy with the status quo. And Beijing, that is China, insisted that Taiwan's Republic of China government is not legitimate. Okay, it said that we are offering you a system, you are rejecting it, you yourself are not legitimate enough. Who are you to tell us that you are not happy with the proposal? That was the approach of Beijing. Then in 2000, what happened? Comes a watershed where Chen Shui-bian was elected as the president. He belonged to the Democratic Progressive Party and openly backed independence from China. Then the position starts to change. And in 2004, he was re-elected. China then passed the anti-secession law, in which it was said that if any secession activity takes place in Taiwan, then violent measures will be used to ensure that Taiwan becomes a part of mainland China. Again, in 2008, KMT's Ma Ying-jeou was elected. Okay, and he tried improving relations with economic agreements. Let's agree economically, grow economically. He tried very well. But then in 2016 comes Miss Tsai, and then she leads the independence leaning DPP. She was elected. Miss Tsai was elected, and she continues to lead a democratic movement in Taiwan. Moving on, let us talk about 2018. After that, Beijing stepped up pressure on international companies, saying that if you are going to list Taiwan as in your list of businesses, then your business in China will be blocked. So threat. Miss Tsai won a second term in 2020, and that was a snub for China. Why? Because she won by record breaking 8.2 million votes. So you see that her movement is gaining importance in Taiwan. Now, India and Taiwan, let's talk about India and Taiwan. First of all, India has been maintaining a stance which entails that yes, one China policy exists. It has been doing so, but it has also abandoned this policy. Did you know? Meetings between leaders of India and China routinely reaffirmed that yes, there is only one China. We agree to this. India stopped doing so in 2010. When? Why? When the then Chinese Premier Wen Jiabo's visit happened. Why? Because Beijing issued stapled visas to citizens from Jammu and Kashmir instead of normal visas. And this showed that discrimination is there. If you're not respecting our territorial integrity, how can you expect us to respect yours, right? What are stapled visas? This must come to your mind. So stapled visas are different from normal visas. If all of you must have went, I hope, break. If any one of you has went to a foreign country, you have your passports, a stamp has been printed wherever you have went, right? But China has a dual visa policy. Along with there are few other countries. If you can tell me the names of those countries who provide stapled visas other than China, please do so. So stapled visas actually they rest on the premise that a paper will be stapled to your passport, no stamp will be given. The purpose of visit, term of visit, everything is provided over there like this. And then when a person leaves the country, it is taken away. Then what happens? There is no record of a person visiting China if they are going from Jammu and Kashmir and Arunachal Pradesh both. Okay. Although China considers Arunachal as a part of southern Tibet, but it provides stapled visas to them only. So no record is there. And that creates a problem for what? For the national security. So that is not correct, right? Moving on, and this shows you can say discrimination, of course. Then in 2014, India invited Taiwanese Ambassador Chung Kwang-tian and Lobsang Sangye to the swearing-in ceremony of Narendra Modi, the current Prime Minister. And recently, it was stated in the Parliament that Government of India's policy on Taiwan is clear and consistent. That means it is facilitating cultural and economic trade relations with Taiwan. It has always done so because we have a robust unofficial relations, not very diplomatic, but undiplomatic relations with Taiwan. India has one office in Taipei for diplomatic functions. The India-Taipei Association and the Taipei Economic Cultural Center in New Delhi these both were established in 1995. Now, post Galwan, the Galwan attack of 2020, what happened after that? India's position on China hardened, but it never gave heavy statements, political statements on Taiwan. And India described the former Taiwan's president Lee Teng-hui as Mr. Democracy on his death. So that was something of a message that democracy is respected, not only in India, but around the world as well. But India ensured that it's loud for China to hear. Now, if we talk about the economic relations between India and Taiwan, you can see exports to India and imports from India over here. We have a good relations with respect to economic relations, economic activities. And this shows you the blue one is 2011, 2013, 15, 17 and 19. So it is increasing. It decreased in 2017, again increased. The imports from India to Taiwan and export you can see is also good. But exports to Vietnam and imports from Vietnam, you can see the difference. This is from the Taiwanese website, okay, not the Indian website. Moving on. Now let's talk about what is the probability of war. We are seeing that China is continuously becoming more and more aggressive after Pelosi's visit. It is not attacking Taiwan as of yet, as we speak, but the waters surrounding Taiwan are being targeted. And China has increased the frequency and scale of patrols since many years, last many years, 2 to 3 years specifically, breaching the air defense zones as well. People's Liberation Army bombers, fighter jets, and surveillance aircraft over and around Taiwan. Thousands of cyber attacks have been registered from China. These are non-military measures. China also suspended a cross-strait communication mechanism with Taiwan Liaison Office. Also told its tourists not to go to Taiwan, limited tourism to Taiwan. China also cut off trade with Lithuania. Why? Because Lithuania opened a Taiwanese representative office in its capital. So this has been the stand of China with respect to Taiwan. Moving on, China hasn't ruled out why there is a possibility of war. First of all, China hasn't ruled out using force to achieve Taiwan's ramification. And it is ensuring that it shows that it is manifesting to various measures that it is taking right now. United States, on the other hand, hasn't ruled out defending Taiwan if China attacks. Now, this is very open-ended. And the question here is, what is the likelihood and timing of attack? Because 2049 comes, and this is the year when Xi Jinping wants to achieve the dream of one China. So you see that it could happen anytime. But many analysts are saying that it is going to happen in the next decade, in the current decade, from 2020 to 2030. Right now, China must be observing the current status, whatever status is there with respect to Russia and Ukraine. That has, of course, emboldened no activity on the part of US, apart from drenching Ukraine with arms and armaments. Apart from that, nothing is happening. And bilateral relations should be solved bilaterally. But there is also one country which is actually a bully, that is China. So let's see what is going to happen. Likelihood and timing is interesting. It will also ensure that everything is, any mistake if Russia is doing, that will also be considered, and then only it will take any sort of steps. This is all speculation. These are all speculation, but nothing can be said as of now. China launched 11 Dongfeng ballistic missiles into waters near Taiwan coast. This is a few, you can say, 1 to 2 hours back news. So, as we speak, anything could happen. Now, Taiwan Strait joins mainland China and Taiwan. And also you have to know that Taiwan Strait is very important for countries which have trade and trade-related activities going from the South China Sea. So that is why if China takes hold of this region, what happens? That no ships can pass, trade will get impacted, air defense zone will also get, restricted for planes and flights to go over. So many problems will occur. Moving on, let us talk about the question for today. Analyze the importance of Taiwan in the free and open Indo-Pacific. Try to write it in 250 words, okay? So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Stay engaged.